All right, we're good.
We're on. Okay. Welcome again to the Zoning Board of Appeals tonight, December 8th, 2025. This evening, we have Jim Steck, Randy Stelma, Frank Bava on video, and our newest member of the team. Congratulations and welcome, Ivy Altman.
Thank you.
And she will be sitting tonight as an alternate, or is she part of our?
She's an alternate, but she will be seated
You are
because there's
seated
five
this evening.
members.
Congratulations, your first meeting. And of course, Nate Nardi Cyrus is here as a staff member. Our first order of business is approval of our minutes of October 14th. And we read the minutes. May I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept October 14th.
Thank you. And second?
Seconded.
Thanks, Frank.
Second.
And all in favor? Meeting minutes are submitted.
We have a vote.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Everybody has to vote aye.
Did you?
I should abstain, correct?
Yeah, you can abstain if
You
you
can if
weren't
you
there.
wish.
Yeah.
Because you weren't even here.
Well, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. Thanks, Frank. Okay, meeting minutes approved. First order of business. There is no old business. Application for a variance by Eric 7 Pearl Street for front yard setback. And we can may have a motion to open the public hearing.
I will motion to
Motion.
open the public hearing for Eric Ortiz at 27 Pearl Street.
Okay, and Frank, was that a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are now open.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Before we start. People, I'm just going to clarify ZBA members that are seated on this. Did you do that yet? Or do we know who you're seating for it? Because if I was under the impression that it would be you as chair, me vice chair, Randy as member, and then you had just said Ivy was being seated. I don't know.
This evening.
This evening. So should we have a motion, a second from someone other than Mr. Baba, who is not seated for the hearing? I just think that we'll probably,
I think
As a
that's very. yes, why not?
technical
Mhm.
point, just maybe ask for, sorry, Frank, I just want to make sure that we have the four that are on it to do the thing. So we'll just. need a
And
second.
that would be for the minutes and the new business then?
Not the minutes because.
She
we
was
had-
not present.
Because, okay.
Yep. I don't know that you have to do
Yeah.
that far, but,
But
so
for
can
the
we
decision tonight.
have a
So the
second
four
from-
seated members.
second from one of the other members.
All right, so I second.
Okay, then.
Thank
now,
you.
All in favor?
And all in favor for that.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very good.
Not you, Frank.
You just sit there and pay attention. We'll-
Well, Frank can be seated too, because it's a five-member board.
1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, we should see Frank too.
You probably should have everyone.
Yeah,
see- have
okay,
it
everybody
both.
sees. So you're in, Frank. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
shall we include Frank? May I have a motion to include Frank and have a 5-member board?
Motion.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
all in favor of having Frank join us?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Frank, you're part of the quorum tonight.
My apologies. I
Thank
was
you.
thrown off by our discussion earlier
Oh,
about how
thank
many.
That's okay.
Then-
We're all together now.
Okay.
All right, so we opened the public hearing and Mr. Oritz? Please,
And do you want me to read in the legal notice
if you would.
first? Okay.
Sure.
So. City of Torrington Zoning Board of Appeals legal notice. The Zoning Board of Appeals has scheduled a public hearing on the following application on Monday, December 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in City Hall Auditorium Room 218, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut for a variance. Applicant Eric Ortiz for the property located at 27 Pearl Street. Proposal, Section 4.10.2, front yard setback, 25 feet to 13.8 feet. Lot width, 75 feet to 68.6 feet. Lot size, 7,500 square feet to 6,623 square feet. Impervious coverage ratio 0.5 to 0.73 to convert a single-family dwelling into a two-family dwelling. Copies of the above-mentioned survey and application are on file in the Land Use Office, City Hall, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Mark Travella, Chair, Zoning Board of Appeals, dated in Torrington, Connecticut, this 24th day of November, 2025, and first day of December, 2025. And I'll say for the record that receipt of mailing to the abutters was received and is in the file, and that the public hearing sign was placed 10 days before the hearing per statute.
Thank you. Eric, would you just introduce yourself and your address and
Yeah,
tell us what's going on?
this one, right? Okay, good night, everyone. My name is Eric Ortiz. I'm the owner of the 27 Pearl Street. And I guess that's it. I'm so sorry. I'm so nervous, to be very honest with you.
Well, you did that very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eric, if you, I can kind of fill them in on the history of our office's interactions, and this stemmed from an enforcement action. So our office issued Mr. Ortiz a notice of violation because we had a complaint about possible illegal units in this legal single-family home. We reached out to Mr. Ortiz, that we had a little bit of a issue with him receiving the mail, but not that he meant to not receive it, but that it wasn't getting to him. As soon as he received it, he immediately got into contact with us and has been working with us very closely to try to get into conformance. It looks like after talking to Mr. Ortiz and, our reading of what's available, it looks like this was a legal two-family home some years ago. The home was built in 1930. It was likely a two-family at that point. And then somewhere along the way, the use was changed from a two-family to a single-family. And we see this happen quite often where the use will be changed apparently for tax purposes to try to get a lower assessment on the house, but the units are never removed. So upon an inspection of the house, there were actually 4 units in the house. It's my understanding that you were sold the property that way. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so like basically I purchased this house last year and December 9. So I'm actually not from Connecticut, I'm from New York. So when I meet the previous owner, he gave me a little more information about the house. So we were talking about do the closing and everything. So he told me that I need to have someone who can represent me as a lawyer here in the city. So he offered me a lawyer. The office called like Blondie something. It's very near to my property. So what it wasn't this, my understanding was like she was in charge to check like all paperwork about the house to know like the house don't have like any overdue payment, like everything is legally, don't have like any understanding something, I don't know. So when we did the close, she told me that everything was correctly. Everything was like on file with the city. She said that she contacted the city to make sure that the house don't have any issues. And I have all everything on emails just for records if one day you guys need to check to see my point. So when I received the phone call from the city because Mr. Nate was telling me that you guys trying to send me a bunch of letters, but I never received for like a mistake. But like a representative came to my house and me and one of my tenant and they told him that you guys need to talk to me in person. So it's when I came to the city and Nate was telling me all of the issues that the house having. So it was like a surprise for me because I didn't know what exactly was going on with the house. So it's when I start working with Nate to see what is the process and what I have to do. So like basically the previous owner and the lawyer at that time told me that it was a single family. To be very honest, I'm just like 25 years old and I don't have any knowledge about properties or like paperwork or nothing at all. So I was trust in the person who was representing me at that time. So when I started this process, because I told Nate that multiple times that I don't want to be in any issues with anybody. I want to do like the correct things because I think that is the what we have to do. So I meet the previous owner when I started the process, and he was telling me that he knew that this could happen, and he never told me. So what happened? And I said like, but this is like very bad of you. Like you are a really bad person because you take the advantage of like the 25 years old guy. You just took his money and like given all of these issues. And I said like right now I'm in the process and I'm spending like a lot of money, all of my savings kind of to do the correct things, and you just like cross your arms and say like I knew this is gonna happen and you're not doing anything, and like you are giving me this lawyer who was like in charge of my case and who was telling me multiple times by phone calls and by emails that the property was like in perfect conditions, but like apparently it wasn't. So he was like, well, it's nothing that I can do. And he was like, you can do whatever you want, but you cannot blame on me because like all of the paperwork is under your name right now. So I was like, thank you for letting me know. Like, I will do what I have to do, but like, this is not the correct thing that you're supposed to do. So right now, like, I'm working very close with Nate to see like what is the next process that I have to do. The first one, it was the surveyor. And the next, I guess, like after this meeting, they will tell me what I have to do, if I need to like hire somebody or like what is the next step. But like basically that was like the long story short, what happened with this property. But I just have today, I have 1 year owning this property.
And from, I did an inspection of the property with the building department. So what he's talking about partially, it was a building issue because the two apartments in the basement were put in without permits. And so they had already had some enforcement going around the two apartments. The one of the apartments wasn't completed yet, so it's not really much of an issue. It had been framed out, but they didn't actually put an apartment one. The other one still has a tenant. He's still
Yeah,
there, yeah.
so what I'm trying to explain to him the first time that I met him, it's like I bought the house like that. I didn't any change. I didn't like renovate something. And also I bought the house with the tenants already.
Yeah.
So he was telling me that like moving forward after like this meeting and keep the process, I need to tell the guy who is living in the small apartment in the basement that he has to go. And I totally agree with that because like I want to just have everything correct on file and trying to prevent like any issues at all.
So you bought the house as you were told there were 4 apartments?
No. So like when I spoke with a person and he was telling me about this house, he told me about the single family. But again, I to be honest, I don't know what is single family, multifamily, or something like with the families. So that's why I hired the lawyer to try to check all of the paperwork. So like she was telling me that she checked the house with the city, but like I checked the assistant like in the city assistant, and the last time that the house passed inspection was like in 2003. And the house was initially like a multifamily, but like in 2003, the owner at that time converted it as a single family and never put it back. So that is what happened. I didn't know anything about that until like I start the process and I start like getting involved with all of the paperwork and do like my own researches.
The ultimate goal is to convert from a single family to a two family. Is that what
Yeah.
the idea is going forward?
Mm-hmm.
And from the city perspective, you would, if you granted this variance, it would be a variance of the bulk regulations. So the ones that are outlined in the memo and the legal notice, right? Just to meet the basic standards, because if you have a house and it doesn't meet those basic standards, you can't add units, you can't make it more intense or do more activities on there. it's grandfathered in with that. So when when they changed from a two-family to a single, then they abandoned their rights to use it as a two-family. And so they would require a variance to allow them to, to use it as a two-family again, through an administrative permit. And this is something that we've done with the Zoning Board of Appeals, quite a bit. We wouldn't, in our office, we wouldn't recommend it for a ZBA appeal or a variance if it was for a three-family, because to go from a single to a three-family in this zone, you'd need to go to planning and zoning. It's a discretionary permit. In this case, if the variance is approved, I will do it as the zoning official in the office without any other review because it's an as-of-right activity in that zone. So it doesn't, it is permitted in the zone. It just, would need to meet setbacks.
Can I ask you one question, Nate? Because do you know if the front yard setback, the lot width, the lot size, and the impervious coverage ratio, are those the same as between a two-family and a single family in the zone? Are they the same numbers or are they different? And
They are different. Single family is usually in the zoning regulations and bulk regulations carved out as like a more permissive, smaller setback, smaller lot width and lot size. It basically goes single family home and then two or more use it, or like two or more units, or I think it's worded every other use.
Mhm.
And then there are larger, and that's so the variance would require these enhanced setbacks for the two-family use.
But that was compliant back before 03, right? Before it was converted from a two-family to one-family?
So we don't have great assessor records because they were destroyed some years ago. A prior assessor had made a bad executive decision to destroy records from prior to the 90s, basically. So we don't have a lot of good data on that. We know that the house was constructed in 1930, which predates zoning. And so that's why it would be grandfathered. No regulation existed at the time of its construction. There was no setbacks. There was no rules in that way. Yeah, I had another point I was going to make there, but I don't remember.
So Nate, the house was originally built as a two-family.
So yeah, maybe that was my point.
I mean, in its structure, it wasn't
It's hard to know, but in looking, visually assessing it, and I see a lot of these types of houses, especially in this district, it's set up in a way that doesn't look like it was recently modified. There's like a first floor walk right in, and then right next to it is another door with a walk-up flight of stairs. They seem pretty separate, like they weren't interconnected.
Right.
That's just my assessment. I can't be sure of that, but in the absence of records, it seems reasonable to think it was a two-family.
No, I'm just curious. Did you buy the house wanting a one-family? I mean, a single house for yourself? Or did you want a two?
I mean,
Just
I bought the
confused.
house as an investment, to be honest. Because again, I'm not from the city. I live in New York. But
Oh, so
then
you're not
like
living in the house?
I'm not living in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not living in the house.
I understand. Okay. Anything else to add to the story?
No, I mean every day is like a new thing with the situation, especially like right now. I mean, last week I received a letter from the city again about like the taxes, because like when was the closing, they're supposed to have like on any pending payments. But like since the second tax you have until January 1st to pay, the previous owner never paid the taxes at that time. So when I did the close in December 9, those taxes from I guess it's like July or September when it started like the second tax until January 1st, all of those months transferred with my name. And they never explain anything to me. What they say is like on January 1st, you have to pay the taxes. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I pay the taxes on January. But like in this year that I have to pay the other part, I got like an accident. So I was in the hospital. I didn't have the chance to pay, but I will pay like next week. That's what I talked to them. And they explained me what happened. They said, this is not your taxes. This is a taxes from the previous owner. But like right now, legally, it's under your name. So like you are in charge to pay the taxes. But they said they explained it to me like when I did a close in December, they're supposed to pay those taxes, have like nothing like pending. So I also called the lawyer one more time to explain the whole situation. No, because like I need her again, like on my behalf. It's because like she was the person who represented me, and she was like, no, like it's not my business. That was literally what she said. She said it's not my business. This is your taxes. It's under your name. It's nothing that you can do it. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but this story, it's kind of like a scam for me because like every day something new. Like for next week, what will be? Like I don't know. I just need to be ready and prepared for like something else, something big, something small. Cross finger that I can resolve these issues. Because like every time I have to come to the city to like even like do like paperwork, check what is happening, like trying to hire someone. Like I don't know what else I have to do in this case. But I just want to like do the correct things, do what I have to do. So trying to prevent any more issues because like right now everything is under my name. So I don't want to have like any troubles or have like any pending situations with anyone. I think that's all. Not sure if you have any question.
No. Any more questions for Mr. Oritz?
And I can, if you'd like, it's brief, I could read in our land use memo for this. Or if you'd like,
Would you like to do that?
I can read it in.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have reviewed the information and plans contained in the above referenced application package, and I support the granting of the variances requested to allow existing front yard, lot width, lot area, and impervious cover ratio variances necessary for a two-family use. The change of this property to a two-family is in keeping with the uses in the neighborhood, as well as the size and position of many other residences in the neighborhood. The commission should not, in their determination, consider the use of the property in the variance, only the variance of the bulk regulations being requested. If the bulk regulation variances are granted, staff may administratively permit the conversion per section 3.0 of the Torrington zoning regulations. A possible hardship determination could be the pre-existing non-conforming nature of the structure and similar building configurations in the immediate neighborhood. The request is in harmony with similar residential uses in the immediate neighborhood.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you.
So I will move to close.
Well, do we want to take, Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say.
Oh, sorry, public comment.
Are there any comments from the public that would like to comment on the? Please state your name, sir.
So my name is Michael Magistrali, and I would start by saying hello to Mr. Ortiz. I'm one of your neighbors, and it's nice to meet you. My wife technically is the title owner of 400 Prospect Street, which is the property immediately to the west of this property. I'm a tenant on the first floor. And what I just wanted to bring to your attention is this property has been a problem for a long time. And I appreciate from Mr. Ortiz's perspective that a lot of the problems that were there pre-existed his ownership. Again, I guess you closed in December, you bought this property. So, but I just wanted to bring to your attention the problems with the property and how I think granting the variance might impact neighbors. And the first thing I'd say is right now, there are at least 3 occupied units there and possibly 4, although I think, as Nate said, there was 1 unit that they had framed out, but maybe it's not occupied. And that's been true for some time now. As far as the variance is concerned and changing the requirements in the regulations, the biggest issue, I think, is the square footage requirement. And that's because with that many units occupied there, there's no parking really. And it's been a problem. The tenants that are presently there park sometimes in such a manner that it's an issue for tenants of our building. So my wife, again, I'm the law office on the first floor. There are 2 apartments upstairs, and only one of them has a car. And there frequently are times when it's hard to maneuver because the cars parked next door on Mr. Ortiz's property are too close, or the way they park, the way they're configured. I think there's at least 3 or 4 cars that are parked over there on a regular basis. And at one point, and I'm assuming this is not Mr. Ortiz, because I haven't seen it in a while, but at one point, there was whoever owned the house was selling used cars from the front lawn. So there would be cars parked on the front lawn and they had for sale signs on them. Right. So, and the one apartment in the basement, that's an illegal apartment that was constructed without any building permits whatsoever, is occupied by a gentleman who there is this very strong suspicion that he's selling drugs from there. And also a short while ago, he became engaged in a confrontation with a neighbor from across the street. I don't know if the other corner of Pearl and Prospect is a house owned by Tom Jerem. I think some of you know Tom Jerem. He has tenants there. And one night, the individual in that basement apartment and his girlfriend were getting into a fight. And the neighbor went over to try to see if he could help what's going on. And he ended up getting attacked with a knife. And there were some arrests. So my point being that it's been a problem property. Based on Mr. Ortiz's representation that he didn't purchase this property since December, I would admit it's probably unfair to put all of that on him. And I'm happy to hear him say he wants to make things right going forward. The first thing is get rid of the tenants in the basement. And so I wonder if he's issued a notice to quit or what steps are being taken now to do that. But again, my concern is the lot size. Where are people going to park? Because right now it's pretty crowded, even with the people that are there now. And I just have a curious question, Nate. So when you said that the certified mail was returned to your office for the.
So the requirement is not that it's certified. There has to
Okay.
be a receipt of mailing. So the white cards. So it doesn't
Okay.
have to be a return receipt.
Okay,
green
thanks for
card.
explaining that, because I'm thinking we didn't sign a green card.
Yeah. No, it's not the same standard. Yeah.
Okay. So, really that's it. My main concern again is the lot size, the parking, and I know that'll go a lot to use, and I know we're not there tonight. But that's, my concern as an abutting property owner.
Just one question, Mike. Is
Yep.
this the White House next? to it?
Yes, right.
It is.
Yes. So, historically.
Yeah.
So I think my wife has owned our building since I think 2007. And my law office has been there continuously. And this property, when we were first bought there, it was a single family home. And there was no problem. Everything worked out great. And then, unfortunately, those folks lost it to foreclosure. And then the bank sold it. I'm not even sure how many times it changed hands. And then the next house down was even worse as far as problems in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So these 2 adjacent properties have been issues. And again, I think some of the issues Mr. Ortiz inherited, I'm encouraged to hear him say he wants to do things right and get it taken care of. I like to feel that the neighbors can be cooperative. So that would really be great. That'd be terrific. I also sympathize with him as far as what happened at his closing. I did some of my own research and I saw who represented him, who represented the seller. I think the seller took back paper. And yeah, I think that, the attorneys involved probably really didn't do right by Mr. Ortiz, but that's a different issue. So anyway,
Thank you.
thank you.
Does anyone else have a comment they'd like to make?
Ask a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's for Mr. Ortiz, or Nate. Is the parking for this, for 27 Pearl Street? If you're looking at the house to the left or to the right, there's a garage beyond in the back of the right, and then there's also, looks like a parking lot or a driveway to the left.
Mhm.
Is that the part, what's the part, can you explain the parking situation that you have at 27 Pearl Street?
Okay, so what they explaining to me, it's like my house has like two parking spot in the left and the right side. So that I also don't remember who I asked you, but it was here in the city the first time that I came. I asked if I can like close my property, and they say yes, and they show me that I have those parking spots. And about the 3 or 4 cars, the first floor have 1 car, the second floor has like sometimes 2 or 3 cars because they are the student. They don't actually live here in the city. They go to the university near, so they come very late night and they leave very earlier. But it's always like in between 2 to 3 cars. And about the basement guy, I didn't know that. I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, but I'm happy to. I mean, he is aware that in the meantime he has to move. Like whenever the following step, if the following step is like he has to move so I can close that apartment, he's aware that he needs to go. So I don't have any issues to like just close that apartment.
Can I ask you one more question? You might know the answer to this or might not, but the map shows a driveway easement. When you're facing your house, it would be on the left. Is that an easement that your property is subject to? So the neighbor has an easement on your property, it looks like?
I don't know.
'Cause
I don't know what exactly is your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's,
Yeah, it's too
I can try to-
technical for me.
I can try to look that up quickly.
I mean, it would appear to me just from glancing at it that it's an easement in favor of the neighboring property over Mr. Ortiz's property, given that his boundary lines go to those pins, and this is a hashed area on his property. I didn't know if there was like a, if it was just mapped there, if there's a corresponding easement on the other side, but we wouldn't know that from this map. So
So you're saying that this easement is for the house next door?
I don't know. I'm asking the question. I would
Was that the
assume
question?
if I was going to look at this map and just guess, it appears to me that that easement is in favor of the neighboring property, not in favor of Mr. Ortiz.
I'm reading it right now because there is a volume and page number on that easement. It's a cross easement, like you said. So there is a corresponding easement on the property at 21 Pearl Street. Based on this, because it's looked like it's giving perpetual right in common, and one section to one owner, one to the other. I haven't looked at it fully, so I don't know. If you wanted a more thorough look at that, I would probably recommend continuing, because I don't want to make a judgment on it.
I mean, I don't think I don't need to see the actual easement. I was just wondering about that.
Well, I think the matter that's before us tonight is truthfully just whether or not the house would be permitted to go back to a two-family.
Right, and
That's what's before us.
well, right, relaxing of the variance of the bulk regulations to allow for that conversion. I know it's a little wonky, but yeah, that is correct. I was gonna to answer Randy's question. So when I said that the permit for the two-family was as of right through an administrative permit. So if the variances were granted, Mr. Ortiz would come into the office, he would fill out a zoning permit application. As a part of the review of that application, the minimum parking spaces required for that would be 2 per dwelling unit. So the third apartment would have to go, and the fourth one, and so it would be 4 total required. And it would basically just have to be shown that the minimum dimensions, and I don't usually deal with parking too much, but there's prescribed dimensions of those parking spaces, if they can be fit on the property, even stacked. For residential, we don't require a travel way for 1, 2, and 3 families.
They can
So-
like park each other in.
Right, they could park each other in theoretically. I would think that based on this map, there'd be enough room to fit 4 spaces.
I would think so.
But that that would be part of the permitting process. We would identify where those are, and maybe that'd be a good opportunity for Mr. Ortiz to communicate with his neighbors and figure out what makes the most sense,
And
if he's granted the variance.
given the discussion tonight, there, you said minimum parking requirements. Are there also maximum parking like maximum parking spaces allowed, or is it just minimum?
Not for something like this. I mean,
Okay.
I think once you get into like Walmart-sized parking lots, it gets to be maximum number of parking spaces. But for these sections for 1, 2, and 3, it's usually, 2 per dwelling unit.
But that doesn't mean you can't park 5 cars.
Correct. Well, yeah, it doesn't limit. It just, he has to show that at least exists
least
on
can
the
exist for
property. Yeah.
4. And that depends whether or not we approve the variance for the 2-family.
Correct. If the variance is denied, then he'd have to return it to a single family, make the modifications to the house essentially make it so that the first floor and second floor units are combined substantially. So they'd have to be framed out in a way that the staircase was only accessible through the first floor apartment. That's usually how that works. And then there wouldn't be any permitting because it would just be a single family home at that point.
Well, interestingly enough, now that I see what house it is, I think it's older than 1930, and I think it was built as a single family to begin with. But that being said, that's not what's before us tonight. So, thank you again for
Thank you.
commenting. Do we have any other comments from the public? Or any questions? Yes.
I would just represent that for my wife and I, really don't have an objection to it being a 2-family house. So I don't want to get the impression that we want it to be a single family, no room. I wouldn't object to it being a 2-family. And the parking issue, I guess, would get dealt with later, right? They'd have to do at least a site plan or something. And so we can deal with that. That's the big issue, except that illegal third apartment in the basement is an issue. So what I would also suggest to Mr. Ortiz, it's nice that you told him he's got to go and he knows he has to go. You need to serve him with a notice to quit. You can't just wait for him to leave. But I may be overstepping myself here.
Well, that's
Thank
good
you.
advice anyway. You have another question?
You guys response?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
come back to the microphone.
So while I'm waiting, it's because like Nate told me that I have to do like a step by step. So the first step it was like the surveyor, the second one it was the meeting, and then the third one they will tell me if I need to do like the electrical part, something like that, close the basement. I don't remember what exactly happened. So I was just like waiting to hear back from the city to tell me like, okay, like he has to leave next week so I can tell him. So I'm not doing anything. I'm not like moving one finger without any of your phone calls, emails or something. Cause like at this point, like I don't know what else I can do. So I'm just like waiting to hear back from the city to know like when the basement guy has to go. So
And-
that's why he is still in the apartment.
And I will confirm that we went over when we had the building department there was a lot of separate issues that we broke out into discrete steps so that Mr. Ortiz could go
Yeah.
one after another on that.
Yeah.
But I guess I would say, at some point that they have to go. Like,
No,
there's no
yeah.
question
That's
that
why he's
third unit
aware.
would have to go no matter what. So,
Yeah, I'm just
um,
like waiting to hear like when he has to move.
Well, seeking that direction, it seems that good advice would be to not wait for someone to just leave on their own, that if it's an issue like this, perhaps something more official may be in favor.
Well, the city won't, if, we're, like I said, that tenant is going to have to leave.
Okay.
So we would encourage, noticing that.
Oh, it's nothing that you guys will tell me when.
No,
So I can just tell him.
yes.
I was just like waiting, to be very honest. Because like the letter and the phone call from the city was like, don't do anything without any permission, without any phone call, without any emails. So like, I'm just like waiting. Even like for a walk, I'm just waiting. Because like, to be honest, I'm very nervous. Having like a panic attack anytime that I get like an email or something.
It sounds like you're getting fair advice and.
Yeah, and I
Thank you
really
for being
appreciate it.
cooperative. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? And if not, may we close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing on the first application.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so the public hearing is closed. So now it's time for a motion. Do we have anything to discuss?
As far as the,
Do what? Vote on this now and then go to the next one, or do we hear all of them and then discuss and vote? or
I
is
think
the
we can,
procedure?
we can,
In the past, we've done each one individually.
Okay. that's fine.
yeah, I think we can. I don't
Yep,
know if there's.
I'm
more
good for it.
discussion. You had a
Making sure.
question?
as far as removing the third, is there anything that we could do even from a contingency perspective on that or no?
No, not for what's before us tonight for our
It could be
job.
treated independently though.
It's part, so there's already an enforcement action
gotcha.
begun on the
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
We sent a
So
notice of
I think-
violation. And so that they, they're basically, as Mr. Ortiz stated, he's following our,
Yeah.
our timelines and process and getting to compliance.
I mean, I don't have any real comment other than this is something that the board's familiar with. We've done it many times.
Yes.
You know, I
So,
think it's fair to do it here.
okay,
Yep.
so we may take a vote. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make the motion. A motion to approve the requested variances for Eric Ortiz, location 27 Pearl Street. Request to vary section 4.10.2 of the zoning regulations to change front yard setback from 25 feet to 13.8 feet, lot width from 75 feet to 68.6 feet, lot size from 7,500 square feet to 6,623 square feet, and impervious coverage ratio from 0.50 to 0.73. And
Okay.
That's it.
So shall we do this by roll call?
Wait a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? For the
Aye.
motion? Aye. Okay.
Aye.
So is it, you may want to do roll call on
I was
these.
gonna say, we can vote for roll call? By
Yeah.
roll call? Okay, James Steck,
Aye.
thank you. Ivy,
Aye.
thank you. And Randy
Aye.
and myself, I vote aye. And Frank, where are you?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Aye. Motion carried. Variance granted. Thank you very much.
So we can, the variance was granted, so we can, if you want to come into the office, or we can talk on the phone about next steps. Yeah.
Okay, second item of business. The applicant is Gary Lucia, 85 Revere Street. Proposal of section 5.2.1B, increase the maximum accessory building size from 600 square feet to 880 square feet.
I motion to open the public hearing on the application of Gary Lucia.
Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Second,
I second that motion.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Public hearing is now open. Mr. Lucia.
And I can read in the public,
you may-
the notice.
Yes, thank you, Nate.
City of Torrington Zoning Board of Appeals, legal notice. The Zoning Board of Appeals has scheduled a public hearing on the following application on Monday, December 8th, 2025 at 7 PM in the City Hall Auditorium, room 218, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut, for a variance. Applicant Gary Lucia for the property located at 85 Revere Street. Proposal section 5.2.1B to increase the maximum accessory size, structure size from 600 square feet to 880 square feet. Copies of the above mentioned survey and application are on file at the Land Use Office, City Hall, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Mark Travella, Chair, Zoning Board of Appeals, dated in Torrington, Connecticut, this 24th day of November 2025 and first day of December 2025. And I'll note for the record that a sign was posted on the site at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and mailing receipts were received and are on file.
Lucia, go to the microphone, please.
My neighbor who lives across the street has something to say, but he has to leave to pick up his daughter. So can he go first?
It's up to you.
I'm fine with
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
that's.
Okay, thank you.
Todd Coelho, 100 Revere Street, directly across from Gary's property. He gave me a quick rundown of what he has. He has about like a 1,200 square foot area, and instead of having two smaller buildings, his request is to build one larger building, obviously not exceeding the 1,200. Both my wife and even my children would think that one garage would appeal better. Most people have detached garages all the time, and it's a single building with however many garage doors. You never truly see a building with a garage, a separate building. So we personally think it would look better. It would look great for the neighborhood. And it's pretty much our 2 cents on the subject. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. I think you got some bit of the rundown, but not the whole picture. I'm allowed to build 1,200 square feet in 2 buildings. Right? Well, I want to build 880 square feet. And I could do that as well in 2 buildings. Well, what I'm saying is, why can't I just stick them together? There'll be less square footage than 1,200, less driveway, less of a building. I think it'd be more aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood as well as me. I do have a sketch if anybody is interested. in seeing.
Yeah, I'm going up and getting this on the screen right now.
Well, you got half of it.
Is the
Yeah, there it
Okay.
is.
There we go.
that's a picture of your sketch?
Yes, so this is an A2 survey of the property lines. And you can see the principal structure setbacks drawn in this light line here, the principal dwelling, single-family home here, and then the proposed garage which this variance, if granted, would allow. It's not based on the setbacks. He'd be able to easily fit it within the setbacks. The regulation, and I was going to just pull that up real quick for everyone. The way that Torrington regulates accessory structures, which any detached structure from the main house is considered, it depends on the size of the property, and that limits the number and the size of those accessory structures. Sorry, I'm trying to like look and up at the same time. Apologize for not having this ready.
If I may add, I don't know if it'll make any difference, but I plan on siding it exactly like the house. The pitch of the roof will be exactly like the house. The shingles on the roof, same as the house. It'll look like the house. This will be smaller than 2 separate buildings. I'd even put it in the deed. I'm not going to build another building.
You said the regulation says, until it's brought up, I'm not sure exactly which one we're talking about, but maximum of, does it say maximum of 2 accessory structures? Like what happens to your, do you have to take these sheds down to make this one, or do they stay? Or I'm just curious, you have 2 sheds on there.
Oh, I have a little one that's in a corner that can go. I mean, that's no problem.
And I don't know if that's necessary. I'm just asking.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I didn't get the first part of
I
that.
said, I don't know even if that's necessary. I was just asking because you mentioned 2 accessory structures, 600 each, right? And then you've got your house, and then you've got your shed, and then the other shed. So I just didn't know how that played into your request.
Well, the one on the left of the house is a little bigger, and I planned on leaving that one there. You can't even see it from the front when you're looking at the other one. I plan on leaving that one there. That other little one is just a little temporary metal shed. I can take that down. That's no problem if that's an issue.
And I'm not sure it is. I was just wondering. Do you have the regulation, Nate, that you can bring up?
I
on the
do.
screen?
I was just waiting to bring that up. So
Mr. Lucia, does your house not have a garage at all?
Yes, it does. It's underneath the house.
Oh, okay.
all right.
So you,
So the regulation is here. So as you can see, for accessory buildings and accessory structures, it's based on lot size. So the smallest lots in Torrington, up to and including a 10,000 square feet, they're allowed 600 square foot, and they're allowed 2 of those for the smallest lot size. Mr. Lucia's property is greater than 10,000 square feet, but less than 40,000 square feet. So it allows him to build a 600 square foot structure or 75% of the footprint of the dwelling unit, which in this case, the 600 is less. And then the maximum number of accessory structures is 2. So to your point, yes, if he wanted to build that and the variance was granted, or even if it wasn't and he built a 600, he'd have to remove structures so that he would only have 2 structures for this to be permitted.
Probably the tiny one in that case.
I mean, other
Yeah.
things that people have done is substantially connect. So if, the tiny one, he was able to connect as like kind of a shed type room that was only, if you were able to attach it, it could be part of that other structure. So sometimes people cobble together.
Is this regulation why that house on Route 4 has that really long covered walkway?
That actually, I know the story, but that has to do with the home occupation regulations and allowing not being able to have a home occupation within a garage unless it's attached.
Okay.
Which since then, the regulations have been changed to not allow just a roofed structure to connect buildings for that exact reason. It is distinctive though.
So when you say substantially attached, then what does that mean?
Basically what we've done in the past is have the building department, assess whether or not, what level of attachment would be required or safe, right? So like if there's 2 foundations, right? If there's frost heaving, right? You want to make sure that they're connected. I rely on their expertise for that. They have in the past allowed if there's going to be like a gravel pad installed next to the house that that doesn't need any kind of foundation connection. But again, we just make sure that they get building permits for it. And that's how we ensure that that the connection is made and not just like a 2x4 isn't nailed to to the house and call that an attachment.
Mhm.
How many square foot is the lot?
The lot is about 26,000 square feet.
Nate, could he have 2 600 square foot buildings?
Yes,
Oh.
Right next to each other?
Or
with a 10-foot separation per the
Oh.
regulation. It could be designed.
yeah,
We've had in the office, we've had conversations about, attaching it as an addition that would be permitted. Having the 2 smaller structures, 2 600 square foot structures is permitted. But a trade of, 1 800 for the 2 600 isn't something that our regulations. It's difficult for us to permit something like that, right? Because it would require, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a deed restriction, and it's just, the regulations say what the regulations say.
right.
I'm sorry, why would it require a deed restriction?
Well, if you think about it in terms of like abandoning your right to have, like, let's say you have one, you're like, I don't want 2 600 square foot structures. I only want 1 850 square foot structure, but I'll abandon my right to the additional 600 square foot structure. That's just not how we interpret zoning and how, we don't, right? Because how would you enforce that? going forward.
Is it something that you can do a condition on a variance for? Like variance approved conditional on waiver of the second, second structure? I kind of hesitate to say that in terms of, if the idea is total of 1,200 square feet, and this is 880 square feet, I don't know how many square feet that shed is in the back. If this would be one building, that would be two accessory buildings, and basically condition no other accessory buildings on the lot. Is that a variance condition would be enforceable, I assume?
I
Fine.
don't know the legal answer to that question. I've never seen it done that way.
Mhm. I've never seen conditions put on variances either, so. I'm
No,
just
I
kind
know,
of,
that's, yeah,
I've seen them put on special permits and put on
Right.
special exceptions and,
right. Usually the variance is asking for what it's asking specifically, right? Like a variance, a relief from a specific section of the variance to a specific amount. And that's usually, it's on a certificate and that's all it says.
Mhm.
Can you pull the regulation back up, if you don't
Mhm.
mind?
Yep.
So this is saying that if you have essentially roughly quarter acre to a full acre, or just short of, you have two accessory structures of 600 feet, and then the next lot size C is if you're at a full acre or close to an acre and a half, you're allowed 900 square feet.
Mhm.
But
Right. And then one,
1,200 total still?
to 900.
It would be 1,800?
Right. And then when you get to 60,000 square feet, which is the largest zone, you're allowed an unlimited number of structures not to exceed 100% of the footprint of the main structure.
So where I was going with this, so if, back to B, so does the 830 or 880, is that less than 75% of the footprint of the home?
Yeah, the calculation of the 75 is more than the 600 and it states, whichever is less. So the 600 is less. So if it was a really, really big single family home
Yeah.
or structure, principal structure, like, 3,000 square feet, then it might be, well, no, either way, that would be less. If it was a really small house, I'd have to write it out.
This may predate you, your time, but I'm just curious, because when I think of a quarter acre lot versus a 1 acre lot or even a half acre lot, I feel like that's a very different, like, living ecosystem.
Yes, I wouldn't disagree with that.
So if the structure were attached to the main house, would there still be would the 600 square foot limitation still apply?
No, it would be an addition at that point. And the regulations don't they don't have a listed number of a maximum size of a principal structure. So functionally, no. The only restriction on the size of the principal structure is in the bulk regulations, and that's that. Just make sure so for this zone, it would be a building coverage of 30%. So you can't cover the property with more than 30% of buildings either attached or detached. So that's the ceiling for the number of structures on there, and so, I mean, do the math on that really quick, like 26,000. So we're talking,
So in theory, that could limit the two 600s too, right? Depending on what this comes.
right, but so it comes out to, so you can't have a home larger than 78,000 square feet in footprint.
Oh, okay.
big house.
So you could do another level, you could double that number, but so you see how it's not like, functionally, there's no cap, there's no house that's too small, and really, for the most part, there's no house that's too big.
If I may say something here?
Yeah.
Attaching this to the house, there's a problem with that. First of all, that side of the house is not meant to have any buildings stuck to it. I'd have to give up at least two of the windows on that side of the house. I'd have to put it next to the bedroom and bathroom. So that, and the other thing is the lot sort of slopes up. So to stick it there, the right-hand side of this garage would be like 4 feet underground. I'd have to excavate around it. It just isn't practical. We have looked at that. That just wouldn't work. This makes the most sense is what I'm proposing.
That's if it's an addition, you're saying?
Pardon?
If it's an addition,
Hmm.
you would have essentially like a retaining wall with, you're saying 4 feet at the end, that would be around. You'd have to have a retaining wall essentially because to keep grade with the house, you'd have to cut in 4 feet into the grade of your lot.
Yes. So this garage actually would be a little higher than the house. Not much, but
And it couldn't be built into the horizon of the land? You know, I don't even know how to explain it.
Well, that's what Randy was saying. There would eventually need to be a retaining wall.
Oh, the retaining wall is
Yeah.
the foundation.
Well, no, it would have to hold
Go
the back
back
of the bank.
Yeah.
It slopes like this.
Right.
and, like if he
went
extended
straight.
out, he'd have to excavate, up against
Yes.
the hill and have a retaining wall on the back and on the side.
Mhm.
Support this 800 something structure as an addition in that
And
spot.
so I'm just, where does the retaining wall
To the
go?
right, like.
Is
to
it
the-
outside of the building?
Yeah, outside of. the
Oh,
new
okay,
garage, yeah.
it's not like a foundation wall of the building.
No, it would be holding back essentially the land, the
Yeah.
earth they'd have to move to keep this like on grade, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
With the house.
Well, if you want to talk, you'll have to come up to the thing. Are you here for?
Here in favor.
Just
Hello,
like-
everyone. I'm Vernon LeBlanc. I live directly in between the building lot and Gary Lucia. I live above him, so my view is directly down on his house. So if he were to attach, and I'm a builder, so I've looked at this with Gary. So attaching to the gable end of his home and putting an addition on for the garage, it is possible, but it's a complete headache. The way that the property comes up the hill. So if you're all familiar with Charles Street,
Mhm.
we're on the back side of Charles Street, so that's what we're dealing with. So there's a massive lot in between the two of us, and then my house actually sits pretty high up. I don't know what the dimensions are, but probably 25 feet higher than Gary. So it would look pretty ridiculous to come over. It would almost look like a commercial building site to put a retaining wall, to my property. And I also think that the two garages would look ridiculous. I mean, he's asking for less than what he's being granted if he were to go with the option of two. I feel like it's a waste of time, material, energy. This could all be resolved with just one building. I don't think he's asking for a lot. The lot that he's actually building on used to be attached to my property. And before I bought it, he bought that as a separate building lot. So if he wanted, he could build a 7-car garage with a house above it, just to do what he wants to do, which I don't think is necessary. If he's looking to make the neighborhood look better and add to the aesthetic, I feel like this one car or one structure would make more sense, not only from the building aspect, but from an aesthetic aspect and for the neighborhood. And it's probably going to be less expensive for Gary. And then again, looking at his house, there's two of the largest bedrooms on that gable end and his main bathroom. So if you were to attach to that, I mean, you're really giving up a lot of natural light. You're giving up, the give and take isn't really there. It doesn't make sense. So this variance really does make sense. And again, adding that retaining wall, I mean, now I'm going to be fighting it because I don't want that. I have small children. It's going to be an eyesore. And kids are always going to climb and, do crazy stuff. They're still in that phase of life. So, I propose that, you allow this not only for the safety of the neighborhood, but for his hardship, being that it's gonna really hurt the aesthetic of his home and it's gonna hurt, his natural lighting. If the grade is, if you put this detached, are you still gonna have to do a retaining wall? No.
No, not at all, because it'll just be up a little higher.
I just don't know if it's like continual up or if it's just, we're talking about up next to the house where it increases, like at that slope or whatever it is.
No, it does continue up the hill. But putting the garage where we want to, we just kind of excavate a little bit around it. So the garage would actually, the floor of the garage would be a little higher than, probably a little higher than the floor of the house. So the whole thing would be raised. So it wouldn't need any retaining or anything like that.
And there's large natural stones on the property, and the excavators would take those large natural stones and they would put them up against like the hillside where my home is, and then excavate around that. So it basically make like a natural retaining wall instead of a concrete or block retaining wall. And then also, it would be easy to mow and, and now, there's probably a 15-foot drop from my property going down to Gary's property. So over what distance roughly?
100 feet.
100 feet?
Hey, this square that we're looking at, is this the 880 or the 600?
That's the 880, right? The drawn in square.
That's correct.
I could have done the math.
Yeah.
22 by 40. We have any more questions for the audience? Anything else, Mr. Lucia, that you would like to say?
It's just something confused me a little bit, bringing this other shed into, the hearing. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I mean, should I know?
For the other shed, so the regulation says that you can have 2 accessory structures for the house,
Oh,
right? And you have pictured here a shed, a tiny shed, and then the proposed structure. So
I see.
and then the discussion between myself and Nate was whether you can kind of condition the variance and say, well, if this is approved, then that must come down or whatever to meet the 2.
Okay, well, that's,
question.
like I said, that's no problem. That little one is, I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it has.
Or the little shed coming down.
That's where that came from. Okay.
If you'd like, I can read in the land use department memo for the record.
Yes.
So this is to Torrington Zoning Board of Appeals from Nate Nardi Cyrus, Assistant City Planner, December 8th, 2025. Section 5.2.1B of the zoning regulations limits properties between 10,000 and 40,000 square feet. Revere Street is 26,000 square feet to 2 accessory structures no larger than 600 square feet each. The hardship described by the applicant is that the building would be lower than the road. That came from the application. I think Mr. Lucia did a good job of explaining more nuance to that. But in my opinion, this does not constitute an exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship unique to the property. The applicant has communicated the possibility of several other building scenarios to staff in the office, including attaching the garage to the house as an addition, which would conform with zoning regulations. On 11/26/25, City Planner Jeremy Leifert made the following comments on this application. The applicant appears to be proposing an 880 square foot accessory structure when only a 600 square foot maximum structure is allowed under sections 5.2.1B of the zoning regulations for each individual structure. No valid exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship in complying with the zoning regulations exists for this property for the application. Due to the size of the property, the applicant has more than enough space on the property to apply for a zoning permit and construct accessory structures that are compliant with the regulations. A personal preference to build a larger structure is not a valid reason for granting a variance under state law and local zoning regulations. I recommend the denial of the variance requested for this application to allow construction of a larger accessory structure that would otherwise be allowed under the zoning regulations. I've reviewed the information contained in the above referenced application package and comments from the city planner, and I do not support the granting of the variance as requested. And I'll just bring up that the definition of a zoning hardship has to do with like the unusual nature of the property, and has to do with denying someone any reasonable use of the property through the zoning regulations. So usually that comes into play when there's a vacant property and it's almost entirely wetlands, and the property owner, to have any reasonable use of their property, has to develop in the front yard setback because there's literally nowhere else they can have a reasonable use of the property. So that is the legal standard. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the legal standard, but that is what it is. And so that's why we did the memo as such.
Thank you.
I guess before going forward, Mr. Lucia, why 880 square feet and why not
800.
and why not 600 square feet? Like, why do you need it to be 880 square feet?
Well, if it makes a difference, I can make it 800. You're not gonna like this, but I hate asymmetry.
I'm sorry?
I hate asymmetry. I just can't deal with it.
Hmm.
And this would let me have two doors the same size. Okay, and that'd be 4 cars. I could put 4 cars in there instead of 3. That's why I'm asking for a variance. I mean, I'm asking you to, just make more sense than building 2 3-car pieces. Like I said, I could go with 800 if that's gonna make a difference. But while we're on the subject, this other shed, Vernon's my builder. We just had the thing sided. Just like not 2 months ago. So I'd hate to have to take it down, but,
Is that part of the stipulation, or
Well, we haven't gotten there yet at all.
if there's 2 accessory structures allowed, first one would be the shed that you have there. The second shed would be tore down, and then your second structure would be the garage.
yeah.
So you would be fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is one of those unique situations where zoning is trying to dictate what you can do with your land. And it almost doesn't make sense. Because like I said, this is a separate building parcel. So if Gary wanted to, he could literally build a humongous garage and put a tiny little apartment in it. And, none of this, nobody would have anything to say, right? It would be, what is the maximum square footage of this building on this property? That would be zoning.
Yeah, some clarification to that point is that it was 2 separate lots. And they were Mr. Lucia recently combined them.
Yes.
But if he wanted to re-subdivide those lots, there's plenty of room for him to meet bulk regulations and do that subdivision legally to redo it. The combination of the lots, my understanding was to be able to have an accessory garage and a larger lot. So, yeah, to the point of, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but his point's well taken, that he could, build a house with an apartment above and a much larger garage, and that would be legal by zoning.
But he would have to subdivide again.
Correct for that, yes.
There's already was subdivided a couple of months ago. I mean, it was put together a few months ago. It was 2 separate lots.
But it's limiting what you want to do now. If you put it back the way it was, you still own both pieces and you can build what you want.
Well, you'd have to put a house on it. with a
Right.
Yeah,
garage.
a
So you
house?
have to,
Oh, it
yeah.
can't just be a
No,
structure?
no, you can't have a
It
secondary.
has to be
Yeah,
accessory.
It can't be, it can't,
It
the
has to
garage
be
would
an
have to be
accessory.
accessory to a primary use. The primary
Got
use
it.
would have to be a house on that lot.
Again, as
So
a
you have to build a
neighbor,
house.
Not a one-room house.
I
Yeah.
personally
This is-
would love a garage at parcel of property instead of, you know, a rented apartment or something of that nature, and then some monstrosity of a garage, 10 bay.
Mhm.
You know, I just think it makes sense for everybody, including the, so it's just a very interesting zoning regulation that's prohibiting simple build.
Can you clarify again? So like what I'm reading and what Nate, I think, mentioned around what the hardship was on the application, I think is a little bit different than color that you've added to it tonight. Can you just for clarity purposes, articulate what the hardship is? Well, since you're here.
I said hardship earlier.
Not a hint,
That was
Gary.
not for me to
No,
say,
well,
but
hardship ties into the ability to grant a variance. So, I mean, on here it says it's just because it wouldn't be level with the road or whatever, but I don't think that's really, or maybe that's, I didn't perceive that from what you said. So I guess I'm asking again, can you just, what is the hardship with the land that is requiring you to ask for a variance to build an 880 square foot garage versus, or maybe because not attaching it, you know what I mean? Like building an addition, keeping it separate. What's the hardship? Can you just clarify to you, what's the hardship?
I gotta be honest with you. I don't know that there's a hardship. I'm just proposing to build less than I'm allowed to build. I think that makes more sense. It's more aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood. Less, well, if I build an apartment above it, then there's more traffic.
that's the wrong answer. Oh, Gary, your hardship is, it's the road and the grade of the road. Because literally what he's gonna be doing is he's gonna be excavating and he's gonna be putting a large portion of this garage under the earth. Right, so it's not gonna make sense from a watertight standpoint. Right, I mean, sure, you can bring in piping and, you know, do all the swales and do all kinds of crazy things, but reality of it is that, you know, the grade of the road and where my home sits, you know, he's down here, my home is here, this building's gonna go here, it's gonna be an immense amount of excavating. And then again, it's, you know, where the road is, where the building is, road, the water's gonna come into the property, no matter what.
So is that the hardship for if the structure was an addition?
Sounds like.
That's his hardship is the grade. Grade is the hardship, so to be able to position this where he wants to position it, it's gonna remedy that.
I think to your question, yes, I think the hardship you just explained is if he had to do an addition with the amount of excavation to keep the grade of the garage equal to the house.
But there is no hardship for if you had two 600 square foot structures.
Right, two structures could be placed wherever, he's just gonna have an amount of paving, it's gonna look terrible.
All right.
There is another location on the property to put? No, I guess it would still be 600 square
You
feet.
can see, it doesn't matter about that. You can see
No.
though on the drawing, this is the existing driveway. He couldn't
Yeah.
have a secondary curb cut. So it would be coming in through this location here. Mr. Lucia, where's the garage now? Like you said, there's a garage underneath your house.
Yes.
Where is that in relation to the house?
It's to the left-hand side of the building, yep, right
Right
there
here?
is
Okay.
his garage, it's underneath the building on that left-hand side.
Okay. And that's like a single bay garage,
No.
two bay garage?
Wait, yeah.
16-foot door.
So two bays here, and then you're proposing two additional or two bays in the new unit, right? That's,
Four.
well, it'd be two in the house and then two bays that could have two cars in each bay,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And so if you come over to this right-hand side, you see these bushes here, you see Vernon LeBlanc Jr.,
This here?
right to the right
Oh,
of
here.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my property's there. And so this hedge here, there's literally, this is where there's a serious drop that starts happening.
Mhm.
And, this would all have to be retained.
So these dotted lines on the map, these are topographic lines? Is that what those are? Are those
Yeah, and-
10-foot lines or 3-foot lines or what are those?
Trying to. I can tell you what that is. Randy, can I have the folder?
Yeah.
Wish I took a picture.
Because it does, you're right, it does. Those are the grades.
Just of how high it is to there. So essentially what, so
They're 2 foot, those are 2 foot, I'm sorry, those are
You're
2 foot counters.
2 foot, okay.
For your reference.
So what that means is that between this line and that line, it goes up 2 feet. Between this line and this line, it goes up 2 feet. And this line and this line up 2 feet. So each one of those lines. And so when they're closer together, that's a steeper grade. When they're further apart, it's
Right.
a less steep,
that's about 4 feet then.
which is about what he mentioned. Yep.
So it looks like 16 to 18 feet of grade change from his neighbor's property to the side of his house.
Do we know?
So, I mean, topography can be a hardship. It's just,
That's where my question is going to be as far as like a permit for addition. Do we know? We may not know this, but would they have an issue with the grade there for adding an addition?
It all comes down to money at the end of the day for that kind of thing. I mean, you can engineer something. It might have to be a commercial size retaining wall, right? It's potentially possible. If it was a large any retaining wall over 3 feet in size requires a building permit. And so they would have, it would need to be engineered or have some kind of description as a part of their permit process for it. So I guess to answer your question, possibly. We usually, applications with more than a marginal amount of grading required, we refer to our engineering department to look over to see what level of site plan engineering it might require even outside of a retaining wall. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess the answer to that would I think would help clarify for me anyway, like the hardship. a little.
What, and I'm sorry, try to reframe it.
No, I'm saying
You
because
get-
it's like if they had to do, engineer this and have like a commercial size retaining wall, because
Mhm.
it seemingly would be over 3 feet if they put this as an addition, like, I mean, I don't know if I don't even want that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
So technically, I mean, according to statute, the hardship, it's explicit about it not being a financial hardship. The financial hardships can't be
Yeah.
considered. If it's, we don't generally prohibit a certain size retaining wall if someone wants to actually pay to get it done. Usually it kind of, especially in a situation with like new construction, just that cost will factor into the cost of the lot and how much someone, as long as an engineer can show that it works, we don't usually
Got it.
get involved beyond that point. It's just, that to make it work, it can be very costly.
So in that case, it wouldn't be struck down because of the design essentially to handle 4 feet of slope. That's possible, regardless of.
It wouldn't be struck down just like it could be permitted.
Could be permitted.
It would just need to be.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Yep.
and there's no, so I've seen in regulations before, there are regulations that allow for percentage increases to uses. And I don't know how to phrase what I'm asking, but there's regulations where, let's say you have a use, it's only permitted to be a certain size, but if you ask permission of the
Mhm.
planning and zoning, it gives you a percentage increase, and that
Yeah,
doesn't
there's-
apply to these.
They don't have, that's not in the regulation as of now. Something similar to that for setbacks with a pre-existing nonconformity and a setback for an existing structure where you can kind of continue the plane of that nonconformity through special exception. So we have a couple places in the regulation that allow you to go to planning and zoning for a special exception, which is like a special permit with a, it's discretionary for planning and zoning. That doesn't exist for accessory structures. This is the regulation. I'll bring it up again. So the first section is accessory apartments. So that's just talking about the conditions required for doing an accessory apartment in a single family home. And then for 1, 2, and 3, you can see that right there. And then it breaks it down. And that's pretty much it. It has to be 10 feet from the principal structure, and shall not be attached by the dwelling unit by a roofed structure. That gets to that example on Harwinton. The size, placement, and number of accessory buildings is also regulated by building coverage and impervious ratios in the bulk regulations. And that's it. That's the accessory structure regulation right there.
Because, from my perspective, this seems like a good idea in terms of reducing the total square footage of potential bills, consolidating them into one accessory structure that will, reduce the need to have, two. The point of the zoning regulations is to make sure lots are presented properly in their zones. The general purpose, that they match the neighborhood, that they match the local buildings. It just seems like silly if we don't have a way to be able to do that in our regulation.
Yeah, I agree with you in that it would be easier to enforce too, because then that hypothetical regulation would have a special exception and a condition specific to that in the special exception, right? Where we're talking about how we don't know that you can condition a variance, but you could condition a special exception to say, okay, you're allowed this one structure, greater than 600, but you have to, extinguish your right to another, or have it add up to a certain number. But that's all hypothetical regulation that planning and zoning, through their authority would have to pass and definitely could be recommended to them.
And there's no general special exception catch-all kind of in the special exceptions section of the regulations that discusses, I don't know if that exists or, because it looks like special exceptions are pretty specific to each use or thing.
Right. You can see it right here. This is a special exception chapter. I could show you 102, just the introduction to it. Maybe there's some language there. Yeah, no, there's no nothing before it gets into the specifics of uses approved by special exception. So when something that has to be approved by special exception, they would, if they were going to do affordable housing, they would, they'd have to follow these, and there's nothing general about special exceptions in that way. It is a possibility that Mr. Lucia could go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and have proposed a text amendment to the regulations to allow something like that. That does require, right? That's another cost. You probably should get a lawyer to draft something, and there's always the risk that it's not, and it would go through another public hearing process like this, and there's always the risk that it wouldn't be adopted. But that's, in my opinion, like the logical recourse to have that go through planning and zoning so that they would make that ultimate determination.
Excuse me, I'm a little bit of a loss here. What is a special exception?
So in the zoning regulations, there are sections in here that allow for someone to change an aspect of their property through the Planning and Zoning Commission rather than coming to the Zoning Board of Appeals. When we get something, we have to look for hardship, and we have a bunch of like legal requirements that are imposed on us by statute and by case law. So they tell us we have to look for these things, check these boxes. The Planning and Zoning Commission has a lot more freedom sort of in their activities because they're allowed to create regulations to change how things apply. So they can create a rule that lets you do this. And, you know, I think what you're proposing makes very good sense. I think it's a very smart proposal, and I think I like it. I like it.
We do it.
Well, because the issues we have to have hardship requirement, and hardship goes to why do you need to vary the applications of the regulations? So the regulations say you can have 600 square foot house, right? A 600 square foot accessory use. Your hardship would have to be related to the difference between getting what's allowed under the regulation, 600 square foot use, and what you're asking for, which is an 880 square foot use. So you have to show a hardship that makes it so that we can vary the regulations to allow you to do one bigger building rather than two 600 square foot buildings. So you'd have to have, you know, as an example, if the topography of your property was like mountainside, and I'm just making this up, so this isn't like a perfect example, but the topography of your property would have to be such that you could only have maybe this footprint that you could fit your accessory structures, you know, like a tiny little piece. And instead of putting the two that you were entitled to under the regulations and trying to fit them in there, if they didn't fit, you might be able to get one larger one because of the way that the property is arranged. Or if you had like a river, like rivers blocking areas, a lot of times it has to do with the area available to you on your property. In one case, so for example, somebody had a well in front of their house. They did not have room technically to put a septic system in the back of their house. Everything had to go in the front because that's where all the room was, but you can't put a septic system next to a well. So variance has been granted to allow people to put it in an area where it wouldn't normally fit because you can't put it next to the well. So there's physical aspects of the property that make it so that you have to put it where you're putting it, and have to have the size that you're asking for. You know, my struggle is just trying to find why you would have to do an 880 square foot building instead of a 600 square foot building, and what the hardship that makes that so would be. That's and I'm looking for it. I'm telling you right now. I'm trying. I'm digging. It's just
Well,
like,
he's my
yeah.
man. Listen to him.
the
More about the hardship than I do.
and we'll have, you know, and for purposes of our discussion, I'll let you know, you guys, I want you to know where I'm coming from. I think that when I see something like this, the sort of better approach, the better area to push to request this stuff is, I would say, put together a special exception regulation that allows a person to, you know, change to do this, to combine their two 600 foot ones into up to a 1,200 square foot one. And you'd have to put in kind of like, well, actually, you know, I don't want to give you legal advice, but you can literally write the suggestion to fit your circumstances. Allow somebody to take a two 600s and make a one with 900 or less, you know, and then you could tailor it to fit your situation and then bring it to the Planning and Zoning Commission. When they approve it, people do this all the time. There are things that they want to put in. The regulations don't allow for it, so they make a new regulation and you bring it to the Planning and Zoning and then get it through them. I can't speak for them, but this is not a bad thought. in terms of it'll be better, I think, for your neighbors. It'll be better for the neighborhood. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then approach it from that angle versus here where we're stuck with these things that we have to, the boxes that we have to check. And if there was a hardship, that's what I'm trying to find is how is there a hardship? You know, and I don't necessarily agree with how I've read cases where topography is a hardship. I've read those cases, but where there's no other like restrictions to where you could put these things, you know, you could technically have two, you know, it would be terrible, but because it's technically true and there's no hardship that connects 600 to 880 square feet, like, is there something that you can, I'm trying to find something, but can you connect that?
I'm saying that the 800 would be better than 600. So that's, I mean, if I'm hearing you right, I think you're saying this makes sense. Well, if it does fit,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Right. Well, we know your neighbor won't appeal the decision.
What'd you say?
I said, we know your neighbor won't appeal the decision.
You won't.
Thing is just that maybe for this request, this is the wrong body to give you what you're looking for exactly because
I'm
While you
sorry, I
have a
can't hear very
hardship,
well.
while you have a hardship, it doesn't appear that we have a permissible hardship for a variance based on how we're bound to essentially answer this. But what Mr. Steck just laid out to you is a pathway to essentially do that through a special exception request with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So
May not be the way to get what you're looking for, pave the road for you to travel.
Okay.
it's just a stop.
Now that we heard the whole story and discussion, this may be the best alternative.
He's older than he looks.
Me?
No.
I said, since we had this conversation and you've heard all the different opinions, it may be the better way to go to achieve what you want to do.
Special exception?
Yeah, because we have strict guidelines to approve or not approve in this particular case, but the alternative would be to seek a special exception through a different route.
Yeah, and to clarify, that means, you know, you'd be asking planning and zoning to change the regulation, right? Rather than asking ZBA to vary the regulation because it doesn't work for some specific reason on your property. You're going to planning and zoning and saying, this is my idea, it makes sense to me. But it would apply to the entire city. So you'd be adding a new regulation to the entire city about how this sort of situation would be dealt with. But I mean, the things to stress would be that, you know, they don't have to approve it. They have even less standards for something like that. You know, it would be the onus on you or your attorney to convince them that it made sense. And they could reasonably deny it. So I just so that you understand that, but it wouldn't be the special exception process that would allow it. You would be proposing a new regulation that would work.
Nate, what's the percentage of approved proposed regulations to the zoning, to
I
the
don't,
planning and zoning
I
commission?
could not answer that question. We don't get a lot of people proposing their own regulations, you know, well, we don't get a lot of individual like homeowner type people, a business, right? Like a company might say, you know, this makes sense. You know, our attorney's going to draw up this regulation amendment and then they come and they pass it. The one, I mean, I won't give advice on it, but the more concise, probably the better as far as cost effective for you and understandability by the commission. But yeah.
Have you seen an example of that sort of regulation in other town zoning regulations?
To be honest, I haven't, other than my own town, I haven't looked at accessory structure regulations too much.
You don't just sit around reading accessory structure regulations?
I try not to. Obviously, at my own home, I
Do
beholden to
do you think
zoning.
it's more unique to Torrington, more common to see homes that have lots in the same, like held to the same regulations with a quarter acre to a full acre?
I couldn't, every municipality structures this sometimes radically different. It's challenging. They're not really comparable apples to apples. I mean, our regulations set up this way, many don't take into consideration the size of the lot at all. In fact, I don't know if I would say most of them don't consider the size of the lot. So it's kind of all over the board. I mean, Attorney Steck could probably, you agree with me in that assessment? You've looked at more regulations than I have, I would think, for
I
different
have,
municipalities.
And I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that, so I've done this in the past with Attorney Herbst in Goshen. We proposed, wind towers were coming out, the wind energy towers, so they didn't have any regulations on those. So we worked with a planner. He created a regulation. They proposed it to the commission. It was accepted. And they filed a request under that regulation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe a bad example because that one was denied at the Planning and Zoning Commission level. But I think that that's because it was very controversial wind project, power energy thing. And it was, so this is a lot less, I think, controversial.
So how long would that process take?
At a minimum, so you would develop the regulation. You'd have a first planning and zoning meeting. They would set a public hearing. For this process, we set the public hearing for you through our office. At their meeting, they would set the public hearing for the next meeting. So you're talking at least 2 meetings, 2 months between getting your application on the agenda and then approval potentially. I mean, it could go out if they want more information, they can continue the hearing, leave it open. But minimum 2 up to 4 months.
Okay, because I was hoping to do this in the spring, but
That's spring,
yeah, it's,
4 months from now.
But you would want, I'd recommend getting a professional attorney, land
Oh,
use
yeah.
attorney to draw up that and, where our office, meets with folks, to help make sure that it goes smoothly through planning and zoning. I mean, if the commissioners have a feeling about it, there's only so much we can do as the planners, but, we can help make sure the application is complete and it seems reasonable to us.
Well, I think tonight you have Nate on record saying he thought it was a good idea. So you might want to print out this record and hold that against him.
I don't know how much my opinion matters in planning and zoning, so.
Same here. I mean, I do think it's a good idea. I do agree with Jim that this does make sense, but you got to go the other way, I think.
I'm just curious what you're going to put in the 800
Go the
square
other
foot
way.
garage.
Cars. 4 cars, he said.
Yeah, well, I'm all for
Yeah,
that. So
Are they, what,
what's going to go in the garage?
pardon?
What's going to go in the garage?
Cars.
Of course.
Well, what else?
I know.
We want
What
to know
kind
what
of
kind of cars.
Well, the first one is a 63 split window Corvette Stingray. Gotta have one of those.
you should have started with this.
Steve?
DeLorean.
You're appealing to car guy.
Hmm?
I have 7 Cadillacs, so I understand.
7.
I know, it's terrible. Anyway,
There should be a zoning rule against that.
actually.
No.
Anyway, well, I
I-
think that's admirable. Never have enough garage space. All right, so are we finished with our discussion and shall we end the
Well,
public hearing?
Do you have anything else to add before
Anything
we
else to
close
add?
the public hearing?
Other than begging you to let me do this because it makes sense. Other than that, I got nothing.
With that being said, motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
Aye.
All
I'm
in
sorry.
favor?
Second.
Oh, no, I got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, well,
Okay,
thank you for your consideration.
so,
Appreciate it.
We still need to make a ruling, do we not?
Yes.
Discussion and, yeah,
Do you have
motion.
discussion on it? I mean,
I'm
We're done.
interested to see if we do. Do we have a discussion further? Our regulations are,
I don't think we have enough of a hardship. So I would vote to deny the variance. To encourage them to,
unfortunately, I don't think there is enough of a hardship either in this case, considering what we're looking at. Well, are we ready to vote? Yes?
Mhm.
Okay,
And just to, the way we structured this motion, we generally recommend a motion to approve, and then if the motion fails, then it's denied. That's what we've laid out. And so if you're, you know, it can be, you can take a motion and get a second for a motion to approve, and then, you know, vote to approve, yay or nay. And it needs 4 yays to pass.
okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the requested variances for Gary Lucia from 85 Revere Street in Torrington. The proposal is to request a vary section 5.2.1.b of the zoning regulations to increase maximum accessory structure size from 600 square feet to 880 square feet. And that's the motion.
may I have a second on that motion?
second,
In all favor?
Do roll call, please,
For the motion or for the vote?
for the vote, because you had the motion.
Wait,
and
that was the
second.
motion, and
And
then
we
the
agreed on the
second. I
motion.
would
So
vote.
here's the vote. Jim Steck, how do you vote?
I have to vote to deny.
So,
Randy?
nay on
Nay.
the,
Nay.
yeah.
Randy, how do you vote?
nay,
Ivy, how do you vote?
Nay.
Frank, how do you vote?
nay.
And I, Chairman, will vote nay as well, unfortunately. And the the variance is denied. Okay,
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. You can bring it in whenever, because the hearing is closed, so now you can bring it back and get your deposit back.
and Nate, our last business is a draft meeting schedule. Is that something?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone got a chance to look at the meeting schedule for 2026.
When did that come?
I have it up here. I don't, did Christine circulate
I
this?
haven't seen this yet.
Okay, I'll make sure to have it circulated. It's the same sort of second, generally on Mondays. It's usually in the beginning of the month,
Okay.
first or second Monday.
Is this something we're,
You don't have to, I mean, if anyone is, I'm just have it up here for discussion if you want to review it.
It's the same
this is our
cadence.
same schedule that we usually follow?
Yes, this is
So nothing
pretty much
changed?
the same
Any
thing. So,
discussion on that, guys?
No, I
Why do
think,
we not have a November meeting? Just curious.
what?
Why,
skip it.
why do we skip a November?
Ah, election.
Ah.
Got it. Okay.
Because of early voting and, you know, there's just everything gets jumbled around and it becomes really difficult to schedule.
Got it.
So that's the only reason for no November meeting.
I see.
I mean, I would suggest that we do we have to vote to accept this schedule?
No.
We
I
don't,
mean, if
okay.
everyone's okay with it, we don't generally do it that way. We just want to give you guys the opportunity if there's been a change in your schedule that we can.
I'm not that fancy to book that far out.
No, me neither. Yeah.
It can be the first in your planner for 2020.
I
Even
think
though
it's a
it's even
surprise
January
when we
12th,
get a
so-
meeting
Yeah,
notice, actually.
Where will I be on October 13th of 2026? I'm not sure.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jim. Second,
Second.
all in favor? Oh,
Aye.
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 Motion, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you
Nice
guys.
to
Have a
see you,
great night.
Yeah. You too, Frank.
See you later.
Yeah, it was fun.
You've been coming to meetings on the other side for,
On the other side?
well, because been on wetlands for like, how long have wetlands? Like almost 30 years.
30.
Oh, really? Wow.
We should get a medal for that. Randy, you left a water bottle over
I did. Water.
$2.
Looks fancier than TI.
It's on sale.
You get $2 one. What?
Yep.
I'll just grab them and leave files.
Check off. Yeah, but it's all the people.
It's basically, it wasn't a complicated one.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-assembly. Thank you. Somewhere, like.
I bet.
It's pretty wild.
Honestly, give that in mind, but take it, I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I got it.
Drop it off at Goodwill.
Well, that's really nice. That's it. Yeah, the shelter.
Everyone's fast, but I just like, don't feel bad, not as bad as you. She runs it, the fish shelter.
That's a one shelter in town.
I will, next time I'll reach out.